Welcome to our Community Service Learning presentation, Campus Sustainability, Highlighting Sustainable Food. We were Sustainability Food Group 3 with Ciara, Kimberly, and myself, Scott. The organization that we worked for was with the University of Alberta Facilities and Operations. In particular, we worked with Shannon LeBlanc from EMSO, Energy Management and Sustainable Operations, and Ana Medrano Chavez and Melissa Garcia from Dining Services. Our project focused on dining areas of two residences on campus, Lister Residence and Peter Lougheed Hall. Energy Management and Sustainable Operations, EMSO, works with several other organizations to develop and promote projects on campus that are aimed at finding ways to reduce the university's environmental impact. One of the departments that they partner with is the University of Alberta's Dining Services. While providing students in Lister Residence and Peter Lougheed Hall with a variety of nutritious food choices, Dining Services also works to raise awareness about healthy and sustainable food options. They are currently serving about 500 students, although normally there are approximately 2,000 students in these residences. Beyond working on creating a sustainable campus and providing nutritious and sustainable dining, they also work to inform students about healthy and sustainable food choices. They normally do this through a combination of in-person activities and social media. The current pandemic has made in-person information sessions less viable, and online or on-screen communications is becoming increasingly important. Another way that Dining Services seeks to limit their environmental impact is by trying to source food from local producers whenever possible. We were asked to provide informative, well-researched, and engaging content which would be shared on social media or in dining halls, and that would support the goals of promoting sustainable, local, and plant-based food choices. We began by researching some different aspects of food production, environmental impact, and the impact different diets have on the environment. We also investigated some of the benefits of integrating smaller local producers into the university dining services supply chain. Additional research was put into studying effective communication practices. Then, we produced a variety of communications to present this material in an engaging and accessible format. We received feedback and suggestions to match the needs of our community leaders throughout. During our meetings with Anna and Melissa from Dining Services, we learned about the pushback they had in response to the Meatless Monday campaign last year. Students felt that they were being forced to give up meat, even though meat-based entrees were still on the menu. Simply reversing the usual menu order of meat first and the vegetarian option second was enough to get complaints. Part of the problem may be a lack of dietary information on the part of the students. Some of them have expressed concerns about not being able to get enough protein from the vegetarian options if they're mostly beans and pulses. The perception of plants as not being a good source of protein is perhaps because they are unaware of the actual protein content of these foods. Another problem with the implementation of Meatless Monday may be the presentation and framing of the campaign. Students may have felt that their right to choose meat options was infringed upon because of the Meatless Monday's wording, even though students still had the option to eat meat. Our group had to create media which educated students on sustainable food choices in such a way that students engaged rather than resisted these sustainable options. One of the papers that we had looked at examined the effectiveness of the Meatless Monday campaign. This paper mentioned the improved efficacy of messaging which is delivered at the point of decision. We also thought it would be most effective to use positive reinforcement rather than focusing on negative consequences. And so we decided to try to develop positive, informative, and engaging material that would invite and continually encourage students to choose sustainable food options. We shared information about plant-based protein and the overall benefits of eating more fruits and vegetables and less meat. To promote local food choices, we shared personal stories of the farmers and suppliers of the dining hall's food. We felt that students may be more inclined to make specific sustainable food choices if they felt a personal connection to where they received their food. Different members of our group developed slides that could be displayed on the monitors in the dining hall, posters that could be displayed in the dining areas, as well as Instagram stories for the dining services account. Kimberly focused on producing slides that could be used on the dining hall screens. She presented the main takeaway message from the Eat Lancer report in one series of slides, opening with a trivia-style question and closing with a quote which highlights the cumulative power of the food choices that each of us makes every day. A trivia question introduces some of the benefits of supporting local food production. I was focused on creating trivia for social media, specifically the dining services Instagram story. I wanted to demystify the idea that one must have meat for every meal, and instead highlight different protein sources that are better for the environment. I primarily researched the environmental impacts of different diets. I looked at the results of many diet life cycle analyses, finding plant-based options had the lowest environmental impact. However, I wanted to present my findings in an engaging way that does not belittle or cause students to feel resentment. I wanted to instead inform and call to action, thanking those who participate in making environmentally conscious choices. Ciara produced posters that highlighted the people and stories behind some of the local foods offered in the dining halls. Research from these posters included finding information on the startup of local farms and producers in Alberta. The posters are to be featured in person at the dining halls, and they show where the food is from and who selects the ingredients. It was interesting to learn about some of the unique local food producers in the Edmonton area, which range from restaurants to small farms. Some of the benefits of supporting these important local sources include promoting local economies, increasing the availability of fresher foods, and supporting biodiversity. The research portion of this project was incredibly informative, specifically research into the environmental effects of meat, vegan, and other sustainable diets. On average, diets with meat emit twice as much greenhouse gas emissions compared to vegan diets. Also, vegan protein alternatives provide the greatest amount of protein per greenhouse gas emission. The initial negative response to the Meatless Monday campaign was surprising and informative. The information that we learned from this could be useful in shaping any future messaging that we may be involved in developing. By focusing on positive steps that people can be invited to take, rather than the negative outcomes of certain actions, and by focusing on messaging at the point of choice, we should be better able to design more successful communication. Along the way, we have honed our research skills, and we have learned how to use Canva as a resource for producing media in different formats. Given our task of highlighting sustainable food options, our project essentially worked around framing sustainability. We had to decide how we wanted to frame and present the issue of sustainability to effectively engage university students. Great emphasis was placed to not infringe on any powerful master frames, such as choice and liberty, like with the raw milk case. Instead of framing plant-based choices as something that students had to do, we simply presented the facts and call to action. We wanted students to feel like they still had the choice and freedom to choose. We just hope they can make more conscientious choices in the future by engaging with our material. Throughout this project, we realized the power and importance of framing. How something is framed, as we've seen with the Meatless Monday campaign, can dictate how policies and media is viewed. Our choice of words had to be delicate to both inform and highlight, but also engage as many students as possible. In conjunction with framing, we had to be selective with what research we wanted to present to students. While we wanted to be factually correct and informative, we also wanted to be persuasive. For example, the unit's kilograms of carbon dioxide equivalents emitted per kilogram of protein consumed may not be a perfect way of representing the greenhouse gas effects of diets, because it disregards protein diversity and may be hard to understand. However, in the appropriate context, a factor statement which uses this type of statistic may still be persuasive to encourage more vegan protein alternatives. Care must be taken when representing different units of comparison, to not misrepresent facts, but also create persuasive material. While buying local is not always a blanket endorsement, we did also learn during our meetings with Anna and Melissa that the pandemic has made certain foods that were normally imported from the US more difficult to obtain, and Canadian source replacements needed to be found. This reflects some of the ideas about food sovereignty that we have explored, and suggests another reason for supporting diverse and comprehensive food production that is less dependent on international supply chains. Thank you for watching.